Hey, everybody, it's me, Max, and welcome to another episode of MAGA Bytes. This is my full-length podcast I do exclusively for members of Maximus Premium, and of course, today is Premium Day. We do this once a month at least, and that means that we just give you kind of a taste of what it's like to be a member of Premium, and everyone has access to this episode. I think this is episode like 19 or 20. I think because I think on election day I had like 3 or 4 of these I did. They're just always live, you know. So
well, it's our first one for 2023.
That's right. So this is the first one for 2023. So Happy New Year to everyone, and of course a Merry Christmas. If we didn't already, I know I already wished everybody a Merry Christmas. And in the house, in studio today with me is the marvelous, the fantastic, my sidekick, the incomparable, the redoubtable, Roxy Balboa. Hi, Roxy.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going great. I can't complain.
Happy New Year, Max.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I really do. I mean, it's thank you, and Happy New Year to you too. And
Thank you.
You're welcome. How's your New Year going so far?
So far, so good. I mean, it's Friday the 13th, so, you know.
Yeah, this is like, that's right. I thought about it a few minutes ago. I said, it's Friday the 13th. It's the first time I'm doing anything on Friday the 13th, I think. So,
well, you know that's how we roll. I mean,
yeah.
we just have to do things that way.
So happy Friday the 13th to all my subscribers and followers out there. So.
I always get them confused. Is Friday the 13th Jason or Mike Myers?
It's Jason.
It's Jason.
Jason
okay.
V. Yeah, it's Jason
get
V.
My horror people straight.
You don't keep up on this stuff. I can't believe that. You don't.
Yeah, I'm a little busy these days. It's hard to.
Yeah, I know. I figured as much. We got to pay attention to these things. They're very important. Pop culture is extremely important, despite what people say. I mean, classic pop culture, anyway. So I'm not a fan of the Friday the 13th series. But I just know that's, Jason. I
remember the big one for me was Nightmare on Elm Street with Freddy Krueger, right? I think they're the trio.
Yeah, I think it's Mike Myers, Jason V, and Freddy. Yeah, so and those, I think those were the 3 that really. I think they did crossovers too back in the 90s, like crossover films, if I remember correctly. Mm-hmm. So at least a couple of them. But the Halloween series is still going on. Like they just,
didn't Jamie Lee Curtis just make one or the last?
Yeah, she did. She did a trilogy. I think. Wasn't that Carpenter? Was it John Carpenter? I think John Carpenter was the original director of those. And anyways, by the way, I just want to tell everybody that we are live and we are monitoring the room. So if you're in my chats, if you're on either the garage or you have to be a member of Premium to be in my private chat in the garage, or you're in Unchained, we're looking at it. So feel free to drop questions and comments and I'll try to chime in and interact. But, yeah, I think she did this trilogy in the last 5 years, and it's like taking place 40 years later from the first one. So I guess it goes the first one in 1978, and then she did these other 3, and they kind of divorced themselves from the previous bunch. So, but
that would have been cool if they just did one final one where the 3 of them just die or something.
I think they've died several times, and they just keep coming back because of money. That's the only reason they keep bringing them back over and over. They never really go away and die. It's like they just should leave certain series alone.
Yeah,
and that's the way.
We discussed this last time, I think, right on the last MAGA Bytes.
Yeah, we were talking. I think we were talking about Indiana Jones, right?
That and Star Wars, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, well, and I just heard from Doomcock. Which, by the way, if you guys don't, follow Doomcock, he has this big channel on YouTube. It's not for children though. It's not a for children thing, but he's really good at getting getting insider information. And apparently Kathleen Kennedy at Lucasfilm is going to be terminated this year. And so he's, that's what I didn't watch the whole episode or anything, but that's what he was saying. So, so that's good. But I mean, yeah, the latest Indiana Jones and Star Wars films, it's all Disney. I don't follow Disney. Disney is a woke company that is notorious for just destroying franchises. I mean, it's not just a partisan belief. They literally can't make movies. And they just destroy entire franchises by inverting the message of it. They demasculinize it. They feminize it. They don't even really feminize it. They transgenderize it. They take all your favorite heroes. I mean, they murdered Han Solo. They turned Luke Skywalker into a doofus that didn't know what he was doing. They made Obi-Wan. I mean, the idea that Ewan McGregor actually agreed to play the part of Obi-Wan and play it the way he played it. And I didn't even watch the series. All I had to do was watch like 5-minute clips of it here and there. And I'm just like, this is not Obi-Wan. I mean, he's not the Obi-Wan I knew when I was young. So, just the idea that they did that. They're just selling themselves out for paycheck. I guess if you get offered $20 million, you'll do it too. But I mean, it's still, they just destroy these franchises. So, I don't know.
Theme parks.
Yeah, well, the theme parks is what they, made Disney, that and their cartoons made them famous, but that was back when Disney was still Disney. I mean, they even had Roy Disney Jr. still on the board, even though they only owned 1% of the company. I mean, now the company is just this far left wing, idealistic or group of ideologues essentially that just keeps ramming down our throats this eternal garbage. I mean, and they really are a home for groomers. I have to agree, but that's my opinion of it. That's what they do, and but I'm not going to
it's a shame.
Yeah, it is. It really is. Because I liked Disney as a kid, so growing up, I watched them.
I mean, Mickey Mouse. Everybody loves Mickey Mouse.
Yeah, I mean, but it is what it is now. So what are you going to do? Anyway, welcome again to everybody. This is MAGA Bytes. Come on in, tell your friends. And this is my live podcast, and we spend a lot of time talking, Rox and I, about pretty much everything. Anyway, do we have any...
We have questions, but I think we should. Yeah, but let's talk about some of the good stuff we got going on, right? So we just sent out the email for your newsletter.
Right. So first of all, that is it. The email went out to announce the newsletter launch. The newsletter is going out next Friday on the 20th, which is actually the second anniversary of my first seminar. I started doing seminars on the day, I think it was the 20th of January, if I remember correctly, in 2021, when Biden was getting sworn in, quote unquote. So my newsletter is launching next Friday, and we just sent out an email. So look for an email with the subject line. I don't know. What's the subject line again? I don't even remember. What did you?
It's something about a newsletter.
Yeah. It's something about a newsletter. Look in if you did not receive it, I have it here somewhere. Wait a minute.
Oh, it's just letting it say the newsletter is launching.
Yeah, Max's newsletter is here in Roma. So basically, look for that. If you did not receive it, it's an invitation. Email Roxy at Roxy Balboa. It's not at, but it's Roxy Balboa, the number 1 at gmail.com. I have it posted on my channel. You should be able to see Roxy's, or you can DM her as well. DM me. So DM her just at Roxy_Balboa. Pre-register if you haven't already. A lot of people have already pre-registered. A lot of people have reached out. So just make sure you get in there. You really want the newsletter, and I'm introducing it to everybody can enroll in it, and it is going to be fun. And it's actually, my newsletter is going to be different than any other newsletter you've ever received or ever will receive. So it was actually in the planning. I mean, it was in the planning stages for about 4 months. So I worked on it and to get it to where I want it. So it's a unique newsletter. You're going to have a lot of fun with it. I'm pretty sure you're going to enjoy it.
It's an experience, as I like to say. It is.
And the name of it is Max Tracks. So, it have these little footprints as the logo. So it's pretty cool. And so you're going to enjoy it. It's going to take you on a journey literally around the world. It's not just going to be what you're used to reading. And it'll be my views on what I think is the important issues of the day. So it's going to be my reflections on what's been going on either in the past week or 2 weeks when you receive it. So you're going to like it. So definitely contact Roxy about that. Today, again, is Premium Day. So what's the next step? We're going to talk about Maximus Premium. Maximus Premium, you can sign up. Again, contact Roxy if you want to sign up for Maximus Premium. Same email address, same DM handle. Reach out to her. Members of Premium get my newsletter. They get everything. They get MAGA Bytes. They get discounts on seminars. It benefits just are endless. Discounts on merchandise, you name it. Get into my private chat. Access to, they can contact me around the clock and I'll answer questions. It's pretty cool, actually. I mean, we have hundreds of members, so they really enjoy it. And you can join today for, what is it, 23% off, right, if they reach out to you. So, for 2023.
We're running a promo for January, and that's 23% off for 2023. Yep. So, let me know if you want to upgrade to premium.
Yeah, you can do that as well. So you can try it for a month. You have nothing to lose. So just try it for a month. You get 23% off even if you try it for a month. So go for it. Give Roxy a holler and tell her you'd like to join. What else?
And for those who have emailed me, I just want to say, just be patient with me getting back to you. I will be going through all the emails today and just getting you all the information that you need. It's just my inbox is a little inundated right now, with the demand for the newsletter. So I'm on it. So just be patient.
Bear with her. Bear with Rox. So, but she'll get back to you on that. And what else do we have? Before we get to questions?
Yeah. All right. Well, we also have a new seminar that you're writing coming up, which is going to be exciting.
Right. So 501, Civics Maximus 501, Socialism versus Capitalism. I had a lot of requests for this last year, and I decided I'm going to do it. Been working on it for a few months as well. That will be launching. We'll actually have our first performance, quote unquote, February 24th and the 25th, is it? Or is it the 24th and the 25th? And then the encore is the 27th and the 28th, right?
Yes.
Yes. So that's going to be evening on Friday and Saturday, and then the following Monday and Tuesday, late February, will be in the early or late afternoon, actually. And
4 p.m.
4 p.m. Eastern time. So, So, and it's going to be good for children. You kids can come. I mean, all my seminars are good for families, but I would say you probably want your kids to attend because this is really a follow-up. If you've been to the one for young scholars, this is sort of a sequel to it, but it's also for adults. I'm going to be going into the horrors of socialism, how it leads to capitalism, and I'm going to be talking about the indoctrination of our youth and how teachers and schools are basically through cultural Marxism are brainwashing our kids. So I'm going to be discussing that. I'm also going to be discussing how to detect this and how to debate with the Marxist and win. So we're going to have a lot of mixture, but it's going to be also the history of Marxism in general, starting with socialism, of course, how it leads to communism. I'm going to be illustrating that, and then moving on, and in contrast, that back and forth, we'll be discussing capitalism and the blessings of capitalism, and I'll be going into corporate America as well and some of the more twisted elements. It's really going to be for everybody. So this is going to be it's going to be deep into education. So if you're interested in socialism, capitalism, and the American system, and you like my series on American government, you'll love Socialism versus Capitalism, or you could just call it Civics Maximus 501. It's just the next one because we've done 4 of these plus the Young Scholars. So this is actually, technically, this is the 6th one I've done on civics, my 6th seminar. So sign up for that. Contact any of the angels or warriors about that. So you can DM any of them. And I know some of them are sending out DMs and they've been reaching out. So do check your inbox in your direct messages because they have reached out. So we'll mention this all again at the end of the broadcast. But
very important for those of you who homeschool as well.
Yeah, this is really good for homeschoolers. I mean, if you're into homeschool, plus if you have any questions about homeschooling or you want me to recommend a course for homeschooling, just email me directly or DM me directly. I do know of a couple. One of them I highly recommend. That's very academic, and if you're looking for a new one, it's right-wing based. So just hit me up like that. I'd be happy to help you out with that.
Yeah, and Stacy, I see your hand is up. So if you do have a question, you could just post it in Unchained, and we'll get to it. We'll answer it for you.
Mm-hmm. So anyway, all right. So want to get on to the questions? Let's kick it off. Let's get to the questions.
Okay. Will Biden get away with a law forbidding gas stoves, and can he do that?
Now, I think that's an issue that's pretty much never going to go anywhere. I was never concerned with it. So if you're worried about your gas stove being banned, and I know this has been talked about by some in the last couple of days, I mean, I assume it has, but I don't know I really don't know what anyone else is saying about it. But frankly, from my point of view, that's never going to fly. No, he cannot, through an executive order, ban gas stoves. That's like banning gas cars, the combustion engine. Yeah, I guess, technically a president can sign any executive order he wants, but absent legislation from Congress, he has to root that executive order in some sort of previously passed law. And there is no law that's been passed by Congress giving the president the power to shut down an industry. So short, no. It would cause some chaos, but you'd have at first because people would panic. But just like with everything else he's done through executive order, it'll be tied up in courts, and courts would vacate that one. Courts would vacate immediately because you have a lot of natural gas companies and manufacturers of different, whether it's stoves, whether it's water heaters, whatever it is, air conditioning units or heaters that use gas, et cetera, generators that use natural gas. You'll immediately get pushback from huge industries, and they'll be filing multiple lawsuits. That type of order from Biden would not even be dry, and he'll end up in court that same day. So it's not going anywhere. It would never happen. I would not lose any sleep over it.
Can they make it uncomfortable for people? Like, I know, I remember back in New York a while ago, they were putting very high tariffs on cars, like taxis and stuff in New York City, just to kind of try to phase them out a little bit. Can they do something like that with gas? Just make it uncomfortable for people to use it?
They could. I mean, you could always get, like what they did with the vaccine mandates through OSHA, what they were trying to do, and they were scaring everyone. They were more successful with frustrating industries and, basically causing people to lose their jobs and lose a lot of sleep and hurt, their health as a result of all of it. I think you can possibly see something like that where they can, but again, it all comes down to the president's executive orders, and it's not going to go anywhere. I mean, he could order the Environmental Protection Agency to increase regulations, but what's the grounds for that? I mean, if you remember what happened, the EPA was trying to regulate. I forgot what was it last year that the Supreme Court struck them down narrowly. It wasn't a wide ruling, but they basically said, no, you don't have the authority to do that. And that's what would happen in this case. Congress has never authorized the EPA to ban natural gas appliances. So it's not going to, or regulate them in that regard, regulate them out of business. They could possibly maybe increase the regulations in some sort of ambiguous wording in their in existing legislation, but that would immediately go to court again. And the most it would do is just raise the prices of the appliance, and maybe perhaps even the natural gas, but it wouldn't suddenly make it illegal for you to own it. Now, when you switch to the states, because we have a federalistic system, with Governor Hachu, right, of New York, isn't that her name? Hachu? Governor Hachu. That's her name, right?
Yes.
What she's going to possibly, what she suggested she's going to do is phase out or ban all gas appliances by 2030. She's not going to be governor in 2030, so I guess this is something that she's thinking about, passing a 10-year law or something like that. No, I think at the state level that's more dangerous because, as you saw with California has its own very high EPA standards, which exceed the federal standards. So, yeah, I mean, the states can do what they want. So if the people of a state are stupid enough to put somebody in that's going to make it harder for people to live by raising the cost on something, which is what Democrats always do and liberals always do, or by banning certain items, which, they shouldn't be banned. Like in Colorado, one of the reasons the price of eggs is high is because states like Colorado now require all eggs to be cage-free. Now, I'm all for cage-free and organic stuff. That's what I eat. But to mandate that you could only sell cage-free eggs at a retailer means that the price of eggs for both cage-free and regular eggs is going to go sky high. if you can even find regular eggs. So it makes it more difficult for people. And again, there's the government stepping in, and the government is trying to regulate your life by saying, no, you should eat organic or you should have cage-free eggs. And that's not the government's responsibility. And that, again, is classic socialism. Okay, that's basic socialism. I mean, it's actually it's broadly, we just call it Marxist, but it's like you're heading towards this communist world where, the government is taking care of you from cradle to grave. And so, you shouldn't be doing that. Just like they did this with cigarettes years ago, right? I don't believe in smoking, never have, never will. But, the bans on smoking were generally the same thing too. It's bad for your health, and we're supposed to step in and we're supposed to do that. You can just keep going down that's where it all began. It began back then. So it's just now it's like, yeah, you could, I think in New York a number of years ago, they banned, was it salt? I don't know what it was. It was salt, sugar. I forgot what it was, but they banned straws. I know they were banning regular straws. I don't know what they were doing, but they were doing something. It
was straws. And then at one point when Bloomberg was mayor, you couldn't even, walk around with like a soda or like sugar drinks or something. So you got,
it was like, didn't they downsize the size of the sodas? It was something to do with sodas, right? So can you imagine, next thing you know, they'll be banning how much sugar is in soda. They'll regulate how much sugar you can actually put in soda. So if you don't want, like, you have to have a diet soda. That's the direction.
But you could just go home and add your own sugar to it, right?
Yeah, you could. That
would be stupid for them to even try to do that.
But it's just, and it will just, all it does is frustrate people and raises the prices of all the items, because the manufacturers respond that way. They pass the bill on to the consumer. Right. And a lot of times they don't want to do that because it hurts their sales, even though they like to make money, because but that's what ends up happening. But look, I just paid $10 for a dozen eggs or 18 eggs the other day. I thought that was insane. I looked at that.
That is insane.
Crazy. But it's like, this is nuts. And this is the Biden economy. So, if you're a liberal out there and you hear my voice, and I don't think I have a very big liberal audience, but if you're a liberal out there, you voted for this. If you voted for Biden, if you voted for Democrats in November, you caused all of this. It isn't anybody else that caused it. And I'm sick and tired of them blaming and passing the blame on to other people, because they are the cause of all of this. Don't try to say it's Trump's fault or, it's the Republicans' fault or anything else. It's them. And there's another issue. I know a lot of people on the right are thinking in the back of their head, but what about, and I'm not going to say it, the so-called F word. We all know what it is. I know there are other mitigating circumstances to what happened, but I will say this, regardless, if you're a liberal and you did cast your ballot for Biden, and you like this, you're psychotic. Frankly, if you think this is a good economy, you're nuts, because this is not a good economy. All right, I'll get off my soapbox with that one. But that's.
I wish we could pass the bill just onto people who voted, voted for.
That's why we need to get rid of. But that's why we need to get rid of income tax. How many people want us to get rid of income tax? Leave a comment. Say something. Raise your hand. Whatever. Have an emoji. Because income tax is what powers this system. Okay, I'm very happy to see the Georgia Republicans and the Georgia coalition, or I lost my vocabulary here. What is it? The group of Georgia Republicans in the U.S. House. That group are actually introducing legislation. One of them is introducing legislation in the House, the U.S. House, to repeal income tax. Okay, and of course abolish the IRS and all of that. I don't even think you really need to abolish the IRS. Frankly, all you need to do is repeal income tax. And if you get rid of income tax, you establish a consumption tax, and I know the counter argument is, well, it's not fair to the Max. It's not fair to the poor because they have to pay sales tax on groceries. No, you just exclude groceries. You exclude beverages. Okay, that's what you basically do. I don't believe there should be sales tax on groceries anyway. I think that's evil. But just exclude those items there. Okay, you can go down and make a list of stuff that everybody, basic necessities that people need. You can exclude them from it, but everything else, you just put a high consumption tax on it, and people should keep every dollar that they take home, and they should be able to take home every dollar in their paycheck. Just think of the idea at the gut when Republicans say we're cutting your taxes. Republicans say they're cutting your taxes, and what do they mean by that? And I always thought about this, sounded kind of funny. We're going to let you keep more of your own money. Well, that's just demonic right there. It's your money. So what do you mean the government's going to let you keep more of it? I mean, that's just stupid right there. You should be able to keep every single dollar because it's yours. And then you decide where you want to invest it and where you want to put it. Because basically, when you buy something, you're investing in that product or in the company that produced that product. So you decide where the money goes. And at the point of sale, that's when you should be paying income tax. So it should be paying tax, and it should be sales tax or consumption tax. And then it should be the other thing they should replace it with is high tariffs. And frankly, I would go very high on tariffs because imports should have a high tariff. And we saw Trump was doing this because he had all these trade wars going on, which sounds negative, but it really wasn't negative. It was good for the U.S. economy, and it's good for American manufacturers. And it's good for companies that went abroad because it kind of gives them an incentive to come back to the United States and hire American workers, because you should produce American goods and sell American goods. It should all be done right here. That's what made America great. That's what built this country. It was of course a few wealthy, powerful men that were innovators that produced the industry in this country that made America the manufacturing capital of the world at one time. Excuse me.
Capitalism.
It's capitalism. That's the opposite of what we've got now. So we've got these two ideologies that are wrestling back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And that's what we're caught up in, guys. That's what we're caught up in. All this running to and fro with all this stuff that we get all hot under the collar about every day, that you notice how I sometimes get quiet and I'm not following the day by day. I actually am following it, but I'm not commenting on it. I'm different. I know there are guys out there that comment on every little belch that the people do in Congress. I couldn't care less, frankly. All I like is the bigger issues, because that's really where it all comes down to. And we have these competing ideologies, right and left. And it's beyond just right and left. It's essentially communism and capitalism. They've been battling it out for decades, and every so often one gets the upper hand. Right now, it's kind of like we're at a standstill. It's like a standoff, because we have the Republicans Hey, I know everyone's a little down. We've talked about this before. On Max Bytes, I've talked about it. I know a lot of people are kind of down that we didn't have this red tsunami, or red earthquake. Actually, we're getting the red earthquake now in Congress because we're doing what we're supposed to be doing. That's where it all comes down to. But be that as it may, we still took the House. We have the most conservative House Republican caucus, I think, in my lifetime. Probably second only to Gingrich's back in the early 90s. So you've got that going on. Okay, and we're actually, look at this. In 2024, Democrats are going to be defending about 22, 23 seats out of 31 or 32. Okay, the Republicans are only defending like 9 seats roughly in the Senate. If I may be off by a number or two, but it doesn't matter. All of those 9 they're going to win. They're all in deep red states. There's nothing that the Democrats can target at all. There's no Pennsylvania surprises or anything like that. Okay, the Democrats are defending a bunch of them in Trump states, especially West Virginia, Montana, and Ohio. Those 3 are very low-hanging fruits in red states that have only gotten redder since 2020, okay? The Republicans are going to sweep those states. I mean, it's a given. Those are deep red states. As Democrats can't win statewide anymore. You didn't kiss Manchin, can kiss it goodbye. He has to switch parties or he's gone, okay? All the GOP needs to do is pick up a net of 2. They're not going to lose anything. There's nothing to lose. They're going to pick up a net of 2, or they pick up a net of 1, okay, and they win the White House because the vice president becomes the deciding vote the way Harris was last year. That's it, okay? It's going to happen. It's going to be one or the other. I mean, I hope they do everything. I hope they sweep much more than that. In 2014, they won 9 seats. No one thought they were going to win anything. They thought Democrats were going to pick up seats in 2014. The GOP shocked everyone, won 9 seats. They almost won a 10th one in Virginia, okay? Ed Gillespie lost that race by, like, I think, 20, 30,000 votes. It was very narrow. So it was 9 seats. They were at 44. They went up to, I think it was 53. So overnight, we're at 49 right now. We're going to win. It's going to happen. We're going to last year we were defending everything. We only lost 1, Pennsylvania. So don't get so upset. We didn't win anything extra, but we only lost 1 in the Senate. I know it was a lot, but the fact is it was always an uphill battle. We were defending like 20-something plus seats. It was very hard to defend all those seats. There wasn't much to choose from on the table there. I mean, Arizona, Georgia, there wasn't a lot of low. Next time around, then don't forget there's Nevada, there's Michigan, there's Pennsylvania, there's Wisconsin, These are all seats that the Republicans in a wave year with Trump at the head of the ticket could possibly flip one of those. So there's other pickup opportunities is what I'm saying. We can get back to 52, 53 seats. I know it sounds like history repeats itself, but that's a fact of life. History does repeat itself. You got to get used to it. So the fact is, I'm looking at 2024. I'm excited about the Senate. I wasn't really excited about the Senate last year. I mean, I don't know if anybody remembers. Go through my timeline. Seriously, if you were at my seminars, but I'm really excited about next November. Not this one, but the following November, next year. Are you still there, Rox, or did you disappear?
I'm sleeping. I fell asleep.
Oh, that's nice. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for that.
Totally kidding. The moral of the story is now is not the time to get discouraged or to start sleeping, right? We got a lot to look forward to.
We are going to do it, and it's going to get down to registering people as Republicans, getting Republicans to the vote early. Get all your friends and family to vote early. I'm not the only one saying this. There are people with bigger followings than me that are arguing the same thing. I agree with them. Get everyone to the polls. Get them to vote early. Let's do it. You can't have Democrats voting, for 25 to 45 days or 43 days, depending on what state they're in. And then you come in and vote on one day and expect to win. It's just not going to work. Okay. So get people registered. Let's get them voting. Let's get involved at your precincts, get involved with your local Republican parties. Let's do this. It's war. And like I said, it's a war of ideologies. It's right and left, but it's really capitalism versus socialism. That's what it really gets down to, because that's what we're dealing with. We're dealing with a bunch of Marxists. I mean,
in premium, you're going to be talking about how to vote like a Democrat.
Yes, how to vote for like a Democrat and win like a Democrat. I mean, however you want to put it, but how to vote for like a Democrat. Yeah, it's not, and it's totally, look. I'm talking about this whole year going into next year with premium members. We're going to go down different ways in which you and your local communities can make a difference by actually doing exactly what the Democrats do. I mean, just copying their playbook. You want to know how one of the ways Trump won in 2016? The people that were making up his campaign that everyone thought was chaotic, which it was chaotic at the top. It really wasn't chaotic at the technological level. He had some of the most brilliant people working in the behind the scenes in Trump Tower. And you want to know what they did? They copied the playbook of Barack Obama from 2008. They just brought it up to date, and they used social media in place of, well, even though it is technically social media. Obama did a lot on Facebook and a lot on YouTube back in 2008, but they used everything. They used Twitter, they used Facebook, they used YouTube, they used they knew how to manipulate, I don't want to say manipulate, but they knew how to maneuver in and out with the algorithms and to get noticed. And they did this at the macro and micro level. And they literally looked at what he was doing. They were able to target specific audiences, and they got people that hadn't voted in like 5 elections to the polls to vote, which is ultimately what Obama did in 2008. Obama got every single person and their aunt and uncle to vote. The joke was they used to go and find people out in the streets that were homeless, and they would register them and get them to vote. I don't know how true that was, but the thing is that is what they looked at. You can't argue with success, and they used that in 2016. I know COVID and stuff like that happened in 2020, but my point is we have to look at what the Democrats are doing and try to copy them. And you may say, well, that's no, I'm telling you, that's the way you win. You get back in power, and then you can start changing things back to the way they were or better. And we are going to be talking about we are already. I'm talking about this in premium on and off already, but we've got 2 years we're going to be going through this. So join Maximus Premium, contact Roxy, become a member. I'd love to have you. If you were a member, come on back. Like I said, we have discounts right now. So
yeah. We got a lot of work to do ahead of us. So becoming a premium member is mental survival gear.
It is mental survival gear for the long, dark winter. That's the truth. Well, I say every time I see that, I crack up laughing because Biden with his long, dark winter. It's going to be a long, dark winter. Whatever. I don't even know what he was talking about.
You sound like a little Arnold there almost. Like little Arnold accent.
Get to the chopper. Get to the chopper. I can't do Arnold. That's not one of the voices. I have to work on that voice. Get to the chopper.
All right, moving along.
Premium. Okay.
Yes, that's it. Get to Maximus Premium. There you go, Arnold.
Premium. Yeah.
Now you're in the right direction, Arnold. When do you think red state attorney generals start making life uncomfortable for key Democrats like blue states did for Trump?
Good question. Well, look, it's how do you define make things uncomfortable? I mean, if you're talking about like Ohio or Florida or Texas, I think by virtue of the fact that the GOP is dominant, Iowa is another one, in states that used to be competitive, Texas not being one of them, but like Florida and Ohio and Iowa were more blue at one time. I think when you look at that, how do you define, what's your expectation? I think by virtue of just being a Republican in those states, it's very, very troublesome, very tiring, very oppressive to leftists, because leftists, by virtue of our existence, hate us. They don't like people on the right. They don't know why, because they're just told not to. So, I think they're already doing that. I don't think that you should expect like what the left does to us, which is, look, if we're all being honest, really, we're not the ones that burn down police stations, beat people up, disrespect law enforcement, do all this, that, and the other thing. We're the party of law and order. And I don't think anybody should snark, be smart about that or snarky and some wisecrack comment, because it's the fact. President Trump is pro law and order. We don't torture, or whether it's through mandates that are unreasonable or whether it's through some sort of CRT training that goes on in schools, which is just cultural Marxism ultimately. And abuse our children. We don't do things like that to the people on the left. They do that stuff to all people, even their own, which I think is troubling. And that's because they literally view the world differently. I mean, unfortunately, Marxists view the world through a prism of envy and greed. That's exactly what it is. I mean, how else can you explain people that are angry at other people's success? I mean, if you're chiding someone's success and complaining about it, then you're a loser, and you're a total loser. And that's exactly, that's the origin of everything. And I mean, that doesn't necessarily have to be financial success. It can be any kind of success, whether it's in education, whether it's in your family life, whether it's in your social life. That's why they need to, they have these safe spaces that they project in every way technologically, wherever you're at. Every social media sites have them, what have you. They have these unreasonable rules. They can't take any type of criticism. They don't like people interfering in their space. Their space is now a projection of several miles. It actually transcends that in cyberspace. And, they live in a cocoon environment. And that's the kind of, people we're dealing with, because they don't know who they are. They've lost their social identity. They want you to accept them regardless, and they can't handle a debate and an argument. So, I mean, it's the kind of people you're dealing with. So, I mean, of course, anything that's different than them or contradicts them is oppressive to them. So when you ask me the question, what do you, when a red state's going to start doing this to Democrats or liberals, just by virtue of being in charge? Can you imagine if Kari Lake had won Arizona? I mean, you'd have had Arizona Democrats jumping off of mountains. I mean, that's the kind of people they are. They have total meltdowns, I mean, and I think in contrast, and I know Democrats would disagree on this, but I think in contrast, we handle defeat very well. We question, as you're right in a true democracy. I know we're a republic. We're not a democracy. I get that. I know that. I've taught classes on that. But I'm just saying that, just using the little D word there, that's your prerogative. But in contrast, when you're dealing with the left, they can't handle anything. That's the part. They don't, anything that goes against the party's message, they're opposed to. That's classic communism. That's Bolshevikism is really what it is. So did I answer your question?
You answered it for me. I'm sure you answered it for the person asking it as well. All right, let's move over to Illinois. Can you please discuss the unconstitutional ban that the Illinois House and Senate passed on assault weapons?
I haven't. Do you have any background on that? Because, I heard about it, but I didn't get a chance to look into it. Is it just a ban on assault weapons? I suppose that's what it is. So if anybody has any details, if anybody has any details of that, drop it into the room. But I'll just say this about any type of ban on it. Look, what? Can you hear me okay? Okay. So I'll just say this about any type of ban on. I can hear you. I can hear you. Can you hear me? I think we lost Roxy there. So anyways, let me just write. I can hear you. But anyways,
I'm gonna relog in.
Okay, go ahead. So we'll get Brock's back in a second. She's having audio problems. But the bottom line here is the bottom line is this: any type of ban on assault weapons, okay, is essentially unconstitutional. The Supreme Court has made, I think, 3 rulings now expanding the right to keep and bear arms. You can't really ban weapons. However, you can regulate them to some extent. You can have permit requirements. You just have to make sure it's shall issue, not may issue, right? That's the big thing from last summer. The Supreme Court, if they're actually going to put a ban out and say, okay, you can't have a magazine ban, or you can't have magazines over 10 rounds, or you can't have semi-automatic rifles, right? That's basically just banning an entire technology again. It's not going to happen. It may happen, but it's going to be challenged in federal court, and the federal courts are going to strike it down because of the broad rulings the Supreme Court has made one after another. In 2007, 2010, and then in 2023, the court has constantly struck down state and local bans of all different types on weapons. So if you're worried about what happened in Illinois this last week or whatever it was, don't worry, because it's going to be challenged in federal court, probably by a variety of citizens as well as the NRA, and they're going to overturn it. That's the bottom line with that, on that one there. Anyways, again, welcome to MAGA Bytes. This is Max, and this is my full-length podcast that I do exclusively for members of Maximus Premium. However, it is also today Premium Day. It's Friday the 13th. I couldn't help it.
You're such a kid.
At heart, yeah, I am. I've never grew up. People that hang out with me always say that. I'm always cracking jokes, and my mouth is always moving, I guess, one way or the other. Either I'm eating or talking. It's usually.
Or you doing both at the same time.
Sometimes I do. No, I don't talk with my mouth full. I don't know what you're talking about. Don't listen to her. I don't talk with my mouth full.
Were you making fun of my microphone cutting off again? I'm sure you were.
No, I just said you were honest. I just said you were having audio problems.
Oh, wow.
Typical Roxy always has audio problems. So
wow. I'm in my cardboard box. It's what happens.
You gotta move out of that cardboard box. I'm telling you, it's no good. You got to get better reception. You got to stop using 56K. Get rid of that Windows 98 laptop that you have.
Oh, come on! I love my AOL.
Goodbye.
I got on.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
All
right.
Does anybody remember that? I remember it as a kid. Remember, you download something, it's this new trailer to this new movie, and you're downloading it, and it's taking like 6 hours to download, and it's just, you're waiting for it to download, right? And then it's just getting to the end, right? It's just about to buffer, and all of a sudden it was goodbye. You get disconnected.
Or you've got mail.
You've got mail.
I kind of miss AOL. Those days were fun. I mean, the chat rooms and everything. AOL was pretty cool.
AOL was ahead of its time. I mean, they used to send out discs, right? CD-ROMs to everybody. Does anybody remember that? They sent out CD-ROM after, the people used to throw them around as frisbees or whatever. And they were, I think at their peak, they had like 20 million subscribers or some high number like that. And their downfall was in the 2000s, I think the early to mid 2000s, along with like, brick and mortar malls and stuff. I mean, as soon as the internet was really expanding with these big companies, these tech companies, that was the beginning of the end of it. There was too much variety. AOL also struggled because of they didn't get into the digital modem or the digital cable. They didn't get into that. Like cable companies were moving into that, and they did not move into that quick enough. They were still dealing with dial-up, and I think that was what really dragged them down quickly. And of course, Amazon killed and swallowed up everybody else, when it came to competition. So here we are, as a result of it. But
yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So what else do we have? We have another one?
Yeah, we got a few more. How do you think our current political discourse will change when artificial intelligence becomes more robust and widespread?
Well, I think one of the biggest problems can be privacy concerns. So, that's going to require members of Congress, both on the left and the right, because this is something that Democrats have talked about for many years until recently, protecting people's privacy, protecting, every time you log into any site, whatever, they're always recording everything. And I think that when you step out of your house, you have drones now flying overhead. I mean, come on, they have cameras and stuff. I don't go for all of that. And so eventually there's going to have to be a privacy bill of rights that's going to be debated and passed. And I think that's something that's going to cross party lines. I think that's going to be one of those things where you're going to have people that are in the Democrat Party, people in the Republican Party, certainly independents discussing it, because that's a big concern, I think, immediately. Now, long term, I know there are these, fanciful, concern, ideas people have that, AI is going to evolve to a point where it's going to, conscience itself, and you're going to have to deal with, machines. There's been many movies about that, and I'm a Terminator fan, so, I'd say I don't think that's ever going to happen, but you never know. I mean, where you can probably have some issues with being locked out of supercomputers. I forgot the name. I think it was called Colossus. It's an old 1970s science fiction movie, long before the Terminator came out, which was about a supercomputer that gained its an independent identity, if you would, gained its own conscience level, and it was suddenly awake, and it was now demanding certain things. So yeah, these things are possible, but I hope I don't live to see it.
Well, you think it'll be a unifier?
What do you mean?
For like the political parties?
Well, I think
like
it's something
they can all come together on, like to kind of control.
I think so. I think when it comes to privacy concerns, certainly. I think I always believe that was an issue. I always believe free speech was an issue where people can sit, because Democrats were the ones, progressives were the ones that always talked about, they were always against censorship. And so I always felt that was an issue that we could find common ground. And really, when you find some reasonable people that aren't ideologues, that aren't all over the top on the left, and there are a few of them floating around, you can have these type of conversations with them. And, I think that, there any type of restrictions, except when it comes to free speech, with the exception of calling for violence or something that's illegal, obviously illegal, advocating something that's illegal, is questionable. And so I think there needs to be some sort of Bill of Rights that needs to be passed, going back to privacy, to ensure that people have that type of security.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting times the more AI is rolled out on there. All right, moving along. All right, let's talk about the elephant in the room. What's your take on the mystery of the sudden findings of Biden's classified documents? Why the leak? Wow. What do you foresee?
Okay, so we're talking about Biden, and we're talking about the documents. Well, first of all, I'm going to say to everybody, if you want your documents, published on the internet or whatever, make sure you give them to Biden. He'll put them in his Corvette, and then the FBI will find them at a later date, or the DOJ, or somebody else will find them. So hand them to Biden. He'll put them in his Corvette, and he'll drive them around town. It's no joke. Think about it. What he was complaining about and criticizing Trump over, right? He's done at least 2 or 3 times. So it's amazing to me, the hypocrisy, and I hate hypocrisy. And so he's just a hypocrite. I mean, the idea that he has him in his car, that a car that everyone knows he owns and he drives, right? That's his prized, what is it, like an old Stingray or something like that, I think. And I just laughed about that. I think it became so bad in the last few days that the Attorney General needed to call for a special counsel because he did this for Trump. And Trump's is one time, one issue. They made a big deal about it by raiding Mar-a-Lago and all that. I always felt, and some people are going to get mad at me now, don't get mad at me. I always felt before the Biden document, Docugate, I guess you could say. Docugate sounds pretty good. I always felt that Trump was going to be indicted. Now, what does indictment mean? When I say that, indictment's just a charge. It's like an impeachment. Okay, it's just a charge. So I always felt like Trump was going to get indicted. You go to court and he'd be acquitted. That's also what I felt. So this was a nothing burger. I mean, they didn't have anything. With regards to what happened with Biden, in retrospect now, or in light of what happened to Biden, I feel that they're never going to indict Trump now. Now, I could be wrong. There's like a chance in 10 that they will, though, my point. But I don't think they'll ever do it now because if they indict him, the DOJ has to indict Biden. And they're going to say, well, no, they're going to make some nuances. Democrats love the word nuance, right? Liberals love using the word nuance. There's a nuance there. There's slightly different, this. No, it's not, it's not really let's knock that off. Okay. They're classified documents. He wasn't supposed to have them. That's why there's a special counsel involved. Okay. End of conversation. If they indict Trump, they're going to have to indict the sitting president. They're not going to want to do that. So what I think is going to happen is I think both of these investigations are going to go on obviously concurrently, or I should say simultaneously, really not concurrently. Well, concurrently because the Biden one's starting now. And then I think they're going to go on and be dragged out for over 2 years. They're going to go beyond the election. And at the end of the day, nothing's going to come of either one of them, frankly. I don't think anything's going to come. I think it's going to be like Mueller with Hillary. And it's just going to be, yeah, it's bad, but we don't have enough evidence to do anything about it. That's what's going to happen. They're never going to, but Trump as a person's like one of the happiest people today because he's not going to really ever have to go to court, certainly not in the next 2 years. If they do go to court, there's another possibility. If they do decide to indict Trump, then they're going to probably have to do it to Biden. There's always the possibility. Some people are speculating about this. I see them in my rooms. Maybe they're doing this because they're trying to get Biden. They want to, they're going to indict him or whatever. They're going to impeach him anyway in the House. Makes no difference. It's a matter of time before the House impeaches him. The question is whether or not they have any real hardcore evidence of some crime that they're going to present to the public so the House gets it. Okay. And then Democrats are forced to make a decision. 2 possibilities there. They impeach him. It goes to trial in the Senate. The Senate tries impeachments. The House impeaches. The Senate tries impeachments. Basic civics. That's why you guys have to come to my seminars. I discuss this ad nauseum. Things like this. The Senate tries. It'll either convict or acquit, right? They never are going to convict. They don't have the votes for that. You need 67 votes. But the threat sometimes forced Nixon to resign. It sometimes will make a person think about running again. So it's a possibility that they're just trying to dissuade Biden from running for re-election. I don't know if that's even plausible for Dems because they don't have anybody else. So who are they going to run in his place? Kamala Allah? I mean, she's just what? I mean, she's going to lose in a landslide to Trump. Frankly, I mean, you think, oh no, it's all, it's this and that. I'm like, no, come on, guys. Come on. There are Democrats that are not going to vote for her. I mean, she is the most unpopular person. That I believe strongly. I can just say that right now. Like if it's Trump versus Kamala, I don't care what a poll shows. Frankly, the polls are inaccurate anyway. I'm going to tell you right now how that race is going. And that's a possibility, but I don't think it's likely. Because if I was in Biden's camp, I'd be like, no, he's got to run because there's nobody else. I mean, okay. I know some people are thinking of Gavin Newsom. I don't think that's good. He said he's not running, and I believe it. Look, whoever's going to run for president is going to announce in the next 6 to 8 months. Why? Because the first primary debates are going to happen around August. All right. So whoever is going to announce in the next 6, 7, 8 months, period. Okay. That's it. They have to build an infrastructure. They don't have it. Nobody else has these built in. The only people that have infrastructures nationwide built in as it is former President Trump and Biden. That's it. Nobody else has it. So, because the first GOP debates are going to be in August. That's if there is a GOP debate. So if you're expecting someone to jump in, we're going to know by late summer if anyone's, if the rumblings are just rumblings or if something's actually going to happen. So I think at the end of the day, these issues, I think there's a possibility that it's used as just another reason to impeach him. I don't think Dems would ever vote in the Senate to convict him and remove him from office. Is a possibility. But if that happened, that's never happened before in U.S. history where a president's been convicted in the Senate. That would be extraordinary if it happened to Biden. And then you'd get Kamala Allah, whatever her name is. So, it's I just don't think that's very likely.
Who would you rather have, Biden or Kamala Harris as president?
I don't like the pot or the kettle. It's to me, I really, man, I that one there. I probably would prefer Biden if I had to make a choice. If my life depended on it, I could only choose one or the other. Probably choose Biden, frankly. Because Biden always, you guys are probably, some of you are going to think I'm nuts here, but Biden's always struck when he was lucid, when he was a normal person. He struck me like 15 years ago as the kind of guy you could sit down and have a beer with and laugh about something. Because he was always making up stories. He was always talking about stuff. He went here and did that. Yeah, exactly. Like, this is a guy who thinks he worked for the CIA at one time. I mean, come on, he makes stuff up. He's fun to talk to. He was always like that. He always create these big stories, and he probably is the kind of guy you could sit down and like a crazy uncle and have have a fun conversation with. I don't like Harris. She's just off-putting, and it's just weird that anyone ever thought that she'd be a good vice president, but we have what we have.
Do you think he's going to carry her into the next term if he's elected?
Yeah, I think, if he's going to switch VPs, he's going to do it at his announcement. He'll probably announce his reelection intentions in the next 6 months again. And we're going to know very shortly we're going to know around summer. And if we don't, I'm going to be surprised. I mean, I don't think they usually don't drag that out. And, but yeah, I don't think he's going to switch. And that hasn't happened many, many years, right? I don't think we've had a president switch vice presidents. I think the last time that happened during an administration was in the early 70s when Nixon's VP resigned. Wasn't that Agnew? Resigned, and then he chose Ford, and Ford was confirmed by the Senate as the next vice president. And then Nixon resigned, and Ford got a free ride to the presidency. Here's a little trivia for you. President Ford was the only person who was never elected to the office of president and became president. He was never elected. He wasn't elected to vice presidency, and he was not elected to the presidency. Because don't forget, the vice president's elected too. A lot of people they look at it as a ticket. But in reality, under the 12th Amendment, the electors cast a ballot for president and a ballot for vice president. That's why the president can't fire the vice president. He could fire anyone else in his cabinet, but he can't fire the vice president because the vice president's an elected office. People actually vote. When you go vote, you vote for the electors in your state that then go into at the Electoral College and cast their ballot for the winner the referendum in your state. It's essentially a referendum election day. And so the electors also elect the VP. It's a constitutionally mandated process. So, Ford is interesting because he got a free ride. He never was elected to either. He never faced an election. His election, it's not a re-election, his election in 76, he lost that to Jimmy Carter by a slim majority.
Civics 101 and Civics 201 right there.
Right there. I gave you a little touch of the civic seminars, which if you haven't been to one of my seminars, you guys have got to come to my seminars. Contact Roxy, ask her for the details.
You got to do it.
You really do, because we sit around for sometimes at my seminars, we go on for 3 days. Not straight, of course, but 3 evenings or 3 afternoons.
We do sleep.
We do sleep. And it's a lot to absorb, and I'll answer every question. It's essentially you're in class with me for days. I just got done with a couple of crash courses here in the last few weeks, and they were pretty cool. And everyone, we just have a great time engaging and discussing not just the topics that are on the agenda. I do have the curriculum up, and you're following along, and we have graphics, and we sometimes have music, and we have a lot of text and everything, but a lot of and
great conversation.
But the conversations are really robust. We have some really great attendees and that bring in insight. We have debates, and it's great. I mean, we do it in a Socratic format, so definitely want to check it out. Like I said, the next one, Civics Maximus 501, Socialism versus Capitalism. We have 2 performances at the end of February. So. Too. And if you're a member premium, you get a discount. So it's pretty cool. And this is my first new civic seminar in a while. I think this it's over a year. So it's going to be and I've been working on it for months. So it's going to be a lot of fun. You're going to like it. No one's ever not liked my seminars that have attended, which is really cool. That's why I put up the little all the little reviews everyone does usually, and they talk. And they're just really blessed. Everybody gets a lot of blessing from it, so that's good. And they feel more confident. You walk away going, "Oh, because you learn a lot." And
that's the
I
thing.
learn a lot too. Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It is true.
It's not just learning, but it's like enlightenment too, because you have all these different people from all walks of life, all engaging in great conversations. So you feel like you made a bunch of friends. You had a really intellectual conversation. You learned a heck of a lot, and then you pass it on. I mean, I'm sure you have steamed a lot of debates out there just from what you've taught. I mean, I've used a lot of it in some conversations, and I've actually had people look at me with that look of, where did you learn that from? That's pretty cool. So that's very flattering. Yeah, I get the nicest comments from people personally. They send me so many wonderful emails. Especially when we've done a seminar or whatever, and they've attended, they write me, and it's always a blessing. It's their parents, sometimes reach out. That's actually what happened the other day. The parent of one of the attendees who's in the hospital, the daughter who was attending, she called in and she got her on the phone, and I think she's in her 80s or 90s. And I was just on the phone with, remember that? And it was just so sweet. She was like, I follow everything you say. This is so great. And it was really, it's a blessing. So I have a lot of fun. And you really made her day. I did. It was really sweet. So yeah, it's and then we got a lot of good positive comments. I mean, I've read some really nice people, and we're really blessed for the last 2 years. And I mean, I think now actually it's thousands of people that have attended my seminar. So it's been really wonderful. And so if you haven't, the next one's next month. And if you're just interested in socialism and capitalism, definitely want to attend. Marxism in general, and but regardless, reach out, get the deets from my angels and warriors, from my assistants, and that's what we call them, Max Warriors, Max's Angels, and reach out to Roxy directly, send her an email, send them some love anyway, because my assistants work all the time, around the clock practically, so just send them some love anyways, reach out to them. They do rock. Yep. We have the best team ever. The girls are wonderful. We're very blessed. And we're blessed by you guys too. I always say that Max has some of the best subscribers ever.
I do. I actually do. I mean, I have to say my subscribers, one of my hero, people wonder who I listen to sometimes. So of course, I would not be a conservative today if it wasn't for two people, Newt Gingrich, who's my intellectual hero. Like that to me is, he is the last statesman. I mean, period. Look up the word statesman. That's the kind of person he was. Yeah. I know some people have some issues with some things. Nobody's perfect, but, and then of course, Rush Limbaugh. And so, those two had the most influence on me at a young age for me. That's why I became a conservative. And of course, I mean, there's the Reaganism and all of that out there that I know influenced 2-3 generations of Republicans. But those two, as an adult, I liked listening until his show was canceled. I liked listening to Michael Savage, and I know he's very controversial, but he was kind of interesting. I remember he would talk about his audience as being different than, and there's a lot of overlap, but different than Rush's audience as this intellectual group. And I always kind of saw myself in a sense as it's this little niche and a microcosm, a very tiny version of that. My subscribers are of the most tenacious, loyal, I think intellectual group of people. And I see a lot of, I can't always respond to everything but I see a lot of that. And so you guys are really wonderful. So I want to thank you for that. It really means a lot. And thank you for all the positive feedback and everything for the last several years. Some of you go back like 3-4 years, because I've been on social media for 7 years, but I think it was after 2020. Anyways, can everybody hear me okay? Hello?
I can hear you.
Well, anyways, Brooks, you can hear me okay. What happened to the audio there for a minute? I think there was a dropout. So I don't know, but I'm everything seems to be going okay. So do we have any other questions? Or
yeah, well, I see Dr. Lake just joined the podcast, and she had dropped a question in on chains, and I know you covered the investigations into Biden, but I just wanted to give her the opportunity. So she's asking can the appointment of the special counsel hinder investigations by the House against Biden due to not allowing access to documents that are under investigation?
Is it in Unchained, or is it in the garage?
It's in Unchained.
I don't see it. Let me see. I want to read that one.
1:46 p.m.
I see it. Yeah, I see it. So, question for your podcast: can the appointment of the special counsel hinder investigations by the House against Biden due to not allowing access to documents that are under investigation? Can the appointments? I don't think so. I really don't think so. The appointment of the special counsel hinder the investigation by that. I mean, it could, in theory. You put the special counsel in there, and if they decide that they obtain the documents and the House wants them, yeah. But I don't think. I mean, don't start doing the whole 3- and 4th dimensional chess thing with me there. I mean, I think the special counsel was. I mean, it could be. I mean, certainly. But then if they're going to just grab the documents and then sit on them for 2 or 3 years, possibly. You gotta know something though. If the U.S. House subpoenas the documents, right, and a special counsels do not have the type of legal protections that you think that they have. If you remember, there was what was it called, Rox? You remember what that Trump asked for a special officer to investigate, a special master, right? It's like some sort of special master. And then the master was supposed to look at the documents out of Mar-a-Lago and see whether or not they should be admissible in court or be used in the investigation. The court slapped that down. All the House has to do is subpoena the documents and then go to federal court if the special counsel doesn't want to turn them over. So, Dr. Lake, I wouldn't worry about that. I mean, if the House wants it, they're going to get it, because the federal court, they'll go straight to Chief Justice Roberts. And I know that's it's Chief Justice Roberts. Still, if they want access to it, he'd grant access to it. So they'll get copies of them. I wouldn't worry about it, in other words.
Rest easy, Dr. Lake. Keep saving lives. All right. David Dragon has a question too. Sure. Hey, Max, what's your take on the World Economic Forum meetings? They deployed 5,000 troops in Switzerland to protect the meeting in Davos.
I've never been that's not one of my subjects that I really go into. And I'm not afraid of or really pay a lot of attention to the WEF. It's not something that, it's no different than the NWO. I don't mean the WWE or the WCW's NWO either. I know when I said that, it's kind of like, that was the first thing that flew through my mind.
That's the first thing I think of when you say NWO.
Right. When you say New World Order, I think of Hogan and
yeah.
Wasn't it Steve Hall and was it Steve Hall? Was it Steve Hall or Sean Hall? I can't even remember anymore. It was Hall. Whereas Razor Ramon, and I forgot the other one.
Was Steve Austin in there?
No, I don't know if Steve Austin ever joined the NW. I mean, I could be wrong. I don't want to make a mistake because I know there's a lot of wrestling fans out there, but that really followed that stuff closely. I don't. I mean, I know it. I'm kind of like doing my history research here now by watching the old videos.
Oh, no, it was I think it was Kevin Nash.
Oh, Kevin Nash. That's it. It was Kevin
Nash.
The original.
Scott Hall.
They were Scott Hall, right? Razor Ramon, the late Razor Ramon. He was great. AU. All right. He would go AU. So. But anyway. No, I don't. It's not for me. Like, okay. The WEF has been around since roughly the early 70s, if I remember correctly. Okay. No one ever talked about this until last year. Anybody ever really? I mean, really, it became right-wing. Entered right-wing vernacular through different social media sites, the internet again. And so, but this stuff's been around since before many, of us have been born. And so it's just out there. And it's a bunch of rich guys that meet. And essentially, in my opinion, they're just sitting around deciding all these things. They give these speeches. I don't know how many of you have ever attended any type of symposium, any type of, whether it's an educational summit, whether it's a science summit, what have you. It's essentially a bunch of rich people that think they know what they're talking about, discussing things in some part of the world, and it's exclusive, and then it becomes all kind of esoteric and you get all these people kind of thinking all these kind of things about them. And because people have become hostile towards them, I'm sure they want bodyguards and all that kind of stuff, but it's like Hollywood. Like, who the heck pays attention to these people? Nothing's binding that comes out of it. Nothing coming out of it will be legislated in even if it went to the UN, it doesn't matter. It's not binding on us. Won't get through Congress. So rest easy. I mean, it doesn't really, they could sit there and I've been hearing these things for like a year and a half about them. All of a sudden I'm like, why is everybody talking about this? And I remember like 2 generations ago, it was a Trilateralist Commission and the New World Order when George Bush mentioned it. I think he mentioned it in a speech in 1991. Where's he today? And, it's just this stuff. It just keeps it's recycled, repackaged, sent out, gets everybody all apprehensive and their anxiety kicks in and they think all kinds of crazy things. So what was the question again?
Usually when the world's most powerful people get together, not very good things come out of it. So I think that's what has everybody on edge.
Well, it's the truth, but then they're missing the most wealthy of them all, right? Because he's too busy tweeting. Because he just took over Twitter. Yeah, I mean, it's like I think that's sort of like an anomaly, right? Elon's an anomaly because he's a great guy. Elon is an anomaly. Here's the wealthiest man in the world, bar none, and he owns some of the most important companies in the world. And he's turning out to be, he's a libertarian by nature, right? And he's turning out to be a right-wing hero because he's moving further and further to the right. He's blatantly a Republican, or he's voting Republican. So when you see that going on, I mean, it throws people off because if he was to meet with let's say, one of the founders of PayPal, I forgot his name, but Peter, what's his name? Peter Thiessen or something? I forgot his name. He's a supporter of Donald Trump and a few other ones. Everybody would think, hey, there's nothing that's good, right? I mean, if they're meeting together and they're discussing, maybe they're going to take over, I don't know, YouTube or something. I don't know. You don't know. We would all think that, oh, that's great, but so you get these people doing that and I'm sitting there and I'm just kind of like shrugging my shoulders. I'm more focused on things like, okay, what's going on at the border, which I've been writing pieces about And that, I've put out, if you haven't seen my latest piece on Mexican cartels, on the drug cartels and the human smuggling and how that cost Kari Lake the election. That's going to be in my newsletter, by the way. So if you want to sign up for my newsletter, that's going out next week, next Friday. That is actually going to be one of the lead articles in it. One of the articles in it. Do sign up for it. You'll read it. But that's the stuff I'm focused on, not what these guys are doing. I don't care they can sit there. They can sit there and talk to their blue in the face. It's not going to affect me. They're not taking my guns. They're not going to take my rights away. I'm not going to put a mask on. What?
I said Max will be standing at his front door saying, "Come and get him."
Yeah, come and get him. I mean, it's like they're not going to do anything to me. It's not going to happen. I mean, it's what I love seeing is when I see patriotic Americans, like sheriff that are in employments, like they're in law enforcement, sheriffs saying they're not going to enforce certain things. They're not going to do this. They know it's unconstitutional. That's the reaction I like seeing. And it's peaceful resistance. And that's the thing. When we start saying no and we push back, hey, that brought the British Empire to its knees in India. Okay. The mightiest of the world empires at the time, the British Empire, was the largest geographical in the history of the planet. And what did it do? It was occupying essentially India, and the native Indians said no. And when they started saying no, and they did it in chorus, right? They resisted, and that type of peaceful non-compliance resistance ended up eventually frustrating the heck out of the British, and and it brought an end to the British Raj. And so that is the type of reaction we should at the most important times we have. And I think you saw that with the mask mandates and everything else that went on. You saw a lot of pushback on that, and we won. I mean, we won those. We won there was the vax mandate and all that. We won all those. I know we can debate it. You can even debate it now on thinking about it. A year ago, you couldn't even talk about it on Twitter. Now everybody's talking about it. So it's like things have changed. I said things were going to get better, and they have. We've done a lot of winning. We've won. We've stopped them from raising minimum wage. We've stopped the BBB. They got a little BBB through. I said that was going to happen. They got a little one through, but that we stopped HR 1, the takeover of the elections. We stopped DC and Puerto Rican statehood. We stopped them from stacking the Supreme Court. They can talk about that until they're blue in the face. It's never going to happen. We stopped them from abolishing the filibuster. I can keep going down the list. I mean, there's a lot of winnings that we did before we even got to the elections. We've taken over the House. I think Speaker McCarthy has a good start. I think he's got a lot of, I would have preferred seeing Jim Jordan, but we've got McCarthy, and I think he's doing a good job. I think he needs our support to keep doing the right thing. We should support him.
Jim Jordan's also in a good position too, though, where he needs to be, right? Especially with all these investigations now that are firing up.
He's in a great position. I mean, this is exactly, we're discussing that on Premium. We are starting to talk about that more and more because it's just gearing up. I mean, they're just putting the committees together, but he's going to be investigating all of this. He's going to have a select committee looking into the weaponization of government or those agencies. He's going to, they're also starting a church committee. That's going to be huge. A lot of people don't understand that, but the church committee is going to look into specifically abuses in agencies and how they targeted Americans during the election 2020. This is going to fundamentally transform the way people interact with Washington. And I think that looking at alone at look, would you hear what McCarthy said today? He's going to release that's 14,000 hours of videos of the January 6th, right? Yeah. Okay. That's a commitment that Gates and the rest of them got him to make, right? He's going to do it. He's got the power to do it. He's going to do it. It's going to be unedited. It's going to be released. It's not a matter of if, it's when now. And when it's released, it's going to change the conversation on that issue, which Democrats have used. That's like their only thing they've been using for 2 years. And I think with the reaction from the MSN is going to be basically, they're going to just start ignoring it. Like they're just going to ignore January 6th after that. Like it's going to go away. And they're not going to bring it up anymore. They're probably going to start talking. Look at Trump's tax returns were released. That's what they did. They just changed the subject. No one's talking. No one's talking about his tax returns anymore, because I always knew it was going to be. It's all we found out was, wow, when he lost money, he didn't pay any taxes. And when he made money, he paid more taxes. Wow. Wow. That's extraordinary. Just like, wow, I was really something. And just because he's in a different income bracket than all of us, you know, he paid more and he paid less depending on, you know, what year it was. Oh, wow. Wow. I was blown away. Wow. That was really something. But so getting back to all of this other stuff, I just don't work myself up about things like that so much. Because we're Americans. I'm not a citizen of the world. Okay. I'm a U.S. citizen, you know, and born and bred, and I'll die a U.S. citizen. End of conversation. It's my country. So this is it. I'm proud to be an American. Okay.
You're not going to move to the Himalayas?
No, I'm not going to move to the Himalayas. I'm sorry. I'll leave that for Himalaya Max. If you don't know who Himalaya Max is, ask Roxy. Send her an email. Ask her, who the heck is Himalaya Max? Give me an update on that. Somebody
just don't send me an email today. I got enough of them. I'm going to go through.
Send her an email. Yeah, everyone send Roxy an email. She's only got about 800 emails to read through right now. So send her an email. Tell her hi. So anyways.
I got one more question for you.
Yeah,
I got one more. Yeah. Okay. So the other day you had posted about making sure that your children are enrolled in a classical education. So some people just wanted you to clarify that a little bit as far as what exactly is a classical education.
Well, a classical education is, essentially where you go through Greco-Roman classics. In general, you're going to look at you'll read Aristotle, you'll read Plato, okay? You'll study, various texts from Roman history, maybe Tacitus, for instance. And you'll also, of course, there's an appreciation for the classics in general, let's say from the, not the Victorian age per se, but yeah, you'll get some Dickens, you'll go back to Shakespeare, you'll definitely do Shakespeare. The Romantic periods, the Romance languages, you'll read classical French Romantic novels and so on and so forth. So it's got a lot of emphasis on that. Classical history, like I said, Greco-Roman, there's a lot of emphasis on ancient history. Typically, there's a lot of American history in it. So in a classical education, you'll also take a classical language. Usually it's either Greek or Latin. You should always do a little bit of both. Latin's probably a little more useful because of its influence. Well, so there's a lot of Greek in English as well, but the Latin is probably going to be a little more useful because of the texts that were written during the High Middle Ages or during the Middle Ages, in the High Middle Ages in the West and Western Europe. And then, of course, you'll be taking, possibly French as well, of course, Spanish is always useful. So there's a lot and it's actually learning these languages so you can read texts in the original languages that they were written in. So it's a combination. So classical, because it was back in the, my goodness, in the 18th century, certainly in the 19th century, you weren't considered educated unless you could read and write in Latin. I mean, all of the founding fathers were fluent in if not classical Latin, ecclesiastical Latin, and they were polymaths. Though, I mean, they were experts in history as well, and yet their professions were mostly lawyers, farmers. Somebody like Thomas Jefferson was all of that, as well as being an architect and an engineer and a horticulturalist and so on and so forth. So, it leads to that kind of breed of student. And so classical educations, if you want more information on classical education or my opinions on it or curriculums regarding it or books or whatever, just email me. I'd be happy to get it to you. Or email Roxy and she'll contact me if and whatever. You can email me directly about that.
Yeah, we'll get you all the info on that. Thanks, Max, for
no
clarifying
problem.
that. That wraps up the questions, but I did want to let everybody know too about the prayer channel.
Oh yes, so right. You want to tell everyone? You want to tell them? You want me to tell them?
I don't care. Sure. So Max is starting a prayer channel right on Telegram. It's going to be a channel dedicated for prayer requests because I don't know if you guys have noticed, but we've been getting a lot of prayer requests lately, and we just want to keep that going. We want to keep encouraging people and praying for their needs and seeing miracles happen. So the prayer channel has been started. So just shoot me a DM if you would like to join it. The corresponding chat to the prayer channel is going to be attached to Unchained. So if you do leave a comment on the prayer channel, it's gonna flow through Unchained. And Jackie's going to be keeping track of all the prayer requests, and she's going to be gathering them, so that way we can just have it updated every day. That way we know who to pray for and what to pray for. Anything else you want to add?
Right. So that sounds great. Perfect. So look for the information on the prayer chapel. You're welcome to join the channel, and everybody's welcome. And just send your prayer requests in, and we'll post them on the channel, and you'll get hundreds, if not thousands, of people praying for it around the clock. So that'll be great. Yeah. Anyways, so like I said, make sure you contact the Angels and the Warriors for Civics Maximus 501, Socialism versus Capitalism. That's late next month. It'll be 2 performances on the 24th and the 25th and the 27th and the 28th of February. And also, of course, make sure that you contact Roxy for my newsletter, which is launching next Friday. And if you've sent an email in, be patient. Roxy will get to it in the coming. May take her a few days, but she will get back to you. Just watch your email and look for an email from Roxy Balboa, the #1 at gmail.com. I'll have all the information in the description below, so you can just click it. And when I post the video of the program. And then, of course, Maximus Premium as well. Contact Roxy about that. You can also DM her at Roxy_Balboa on Telegram or Twitter. Just DM her directly, and she'll get back to you about that. If you want to join Premium, we'd love to have you. It's a lot of fun. We go 24/7. This is just a little taste of what it's like all week long, around the clock on Maximus Premium. So we do things like this.
Of disaster.
Anyway, anything else, Rox?
That's all we got for today. It's all she wrote.
Well, have a happy Friday and a good, peaceful, blessed weekend, everybody, and a happy Friday the 13th. Friday the 13th. Go. Yeah, that's it. Don't it's Friday the 13th. There's the Jason movies. I wouldn't tell you. Don't watch any of that stuff, though. It's it's not.
Just join Premium. That's all you need for cable.
Just join Premium. It's like it's mental survival gear for the nuclear winter. No, I'm kidding. There's going to be no nuclear winter. That's not going to happen. There's no nuclear war.
All right, end it before you go further into your dark hole.
I won't do that. I'm not going to do it. So, anyways, God bless you all. Take care.
Take care, everybody.
We'll see you around the campfire. Ciao.
Take care, Max. Ciao.
Take care. Ciao.
Bye.